Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
California. What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com, coming to you on a Monday, November 21st, a little special short edition before the Thanksgiving holiday. Hope everybody is enjoying their weekend. The World Cup is going on, so that's exciting. We're glad you're hopefully enjoying that. I don't know, U.S. fans, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. A little break from Galaxy stuff before we hit the Thanksgiving, but we wanted to reach out and have one of our good friends back on the show. He recently announced his retirement after 14 years in Major League Soccer. Countless, I think 8 years with the LA Galaxy when you count them, MLS Cups, Supporter Shields, all that fun stuff is certainly there. He's here to join us. He is an LA Galaxy legend, Mr. AJ DeLaGarza. AJ, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on again.
I was thinking back. I'm like, okay, so the last time we had AJ on though was 2017. The last time we had you on this show, it was not a good day for everybody. Maybe yourself included, but you had found out that you got traded to Houston. And as I was writing some questions and stuff like that, that was sort of the first thing that hit me is the last time you and I talked on the show, which had been countless times because you were one of our regular guests throughout your tenure with the LA Galaxy. The last time wasn't a happy feeling, and now we get to be on a happy feeling. Is it better this way now?
Yeah, much better now.
I'm
a little bit older too, so yeah, good times. Happy to be back though.
That's awesome. When you go back and when you look at just 2017, and obviously we'll touch on a whole bunch of different things, but 2017 and that time, is that something you have to sort of let go? I know that was a punch in the gut to you, and I know it was a punch in the gut to Galaxy fans because I think you get talked about on this show at least once a week, it feels like. And the curse of AJ DeLaGarza. Do you think you coming back is going to alleviate this curse?
Yeah, that's why I did it, to be honest. No, but yeah, I think when I got traded, it was definitely a punch in the gut. And then 5 days later, I was out of there. So I felt like I never got to thank the fans properly. Never got to have official goodbye. And I feel like now this kind of full circle moment in this week, celebrating with you guys, where I think I obviously have my better days. I felt like this was the perfect kind of goodbye and retirement.
Yeah, it was fun. We had a little party on Friday night. The LA Galaxy threw you a party up in Long Beach. It was the perfect amount of people for. I don't know. I guess I was saying your personality. Like, there's a lot of soccer players throughout the world. There's very few that can sort of walk into his own retirement party and you didn't get mobbed. It was just like, oh, the guy who always hangs out here is with us. You have this casualness about you that I think it sort of invites people into your family. Was that conscious or is that just who you are?
I think that's just who I am, to be fair. Obviously all of you guys that were there that night took time out of your night to come there and celebrate me and my career. And, to make it more special, obviously I want to go around and thank each and every one of you for, one, coming out that night, but two, everything that you guys have done throughout my career, really, not just with the Galaxy, but throughout my entire career.
and he's not lying. I was there and I got to see AJ and we got a couple moments there where we could talk for a little bit. But you did go around and I think you hugged every single person. You took as many pictures with people as they wanted. I got my picture taken with you, which is a funny little story because as a member of the press, I'm not allowed to ask for photos with players. But once you retired, that gave now you're no longer a player, so I can go up and ask. So, it's just like those weird things. As somebody who's watched your career, and we started this podcast in 2009. So that was the year that you and Omar came into the LA Galaxy. You had come over from Maryland. I have the personal connection, which I've told ad nauseum on this as well, that my wife went to school with you as well, and you two actually, at least know each other in passing. So that was one of those weird things that sort of connected everybody together. But in 2009, you started with the LA Galaxy, and you started with this podcast, and it just there's so many soccer players who go around. AJ, why were you able to connect with the LA Galaxy and its fans so easily?
I just think that's the type of person I feel like I'm very personable. And, I told the story the other day at the party where a 6-year-old was like, man, this is so cool. Like, we know AJ, but, he's a professional soccer player, but he's just like one of us. I just felt like that is who I wanted to be this entire time with you guys and open and, look, at the end of the day, we're all trying to promote the Galaxy and all that. So, I just felt like that was the way to do that, is to build those relationships.
Why retire now?
Man, it was a long, thought out process, to be fair. I just felt like I wasn't getting enough, maybe respect in New England. Obviously I was a veteran guy and all that. And, but, to get one game every 3 months at my age, you're never going to be fully fit. So, it was just tough to be in that situation. And, but when I look back at it also, I'm like, man, I was that young guy that was playing when I was in my first few years, and the guys that were behind me were World Cup veterans. So it's like, man, I maybe I didn't see it. I thought it was going to be like when I was younger, but it wasn't. And then how much of a family person I am, and I saw my time in New England dwindling down, and I also didn't want to move my family again for one more year to go play somewhere else. And that's when I had to come to the decision to be done with soccer and move on. And I think that was the biggest thing, was to one, be in my head telling myself that, I am ready. So some guys fight back and forth, but I was ready months ago. And months ago is when I brought this up to Chris Klein, to be honest. When Galaxy played in New England, I was like, look, I'm probably retiring after this year, and I would love to come back and sign a one-day contract if possible and retire as a member of the Galaxy. But that was my thinking on that.
Well, why wasn't it a one-game contract? Couldn't you get Chris to fork over one game, get back out there, put the cleats on one more time?
Yeah, right. One more game, and that would have been against LAFC. And obviously, that's my biggest. I gotta live with that forever. Is I was talking so much trash on Twitter to Chivas USA fans, LAFC fans, back in the day, and then unfortunately got traded in that preseason that year they were coming. So I never got to play in that derby. So something I always miss. But I try to put in a one-game contract and $100,000, but they caught it. So
just a little write-in on the side there. Just initial this part right there. I like that.
Yeah, just on the back.
Did you talk to anybody? Did you talk to any of your former teammates, current teammates, coaches, anybody like that? Whenever you were thinking about retiring, did they give you any advice?
Yeah, I think I talked to quite a few people, mostly guys that are still playing. And everyone has a different opinion. A lot of guys were like, play until your legs fall off. Like, grind this out as long as possible. And other guys were like, man, if you can go out the way you want to go out, why not do that? And I was like, you're right. Like, that's how I want to go out. I don't want to go out and be limping out. And to be able to retire as a Galaxy is exactly how I could have imagined going out, to be fair. So, again, that made the decision a little bit easier as well.
You said, I think at the party on Friday night, you said that you would be at the Rose Bowl, though, for the LA Galaxy LAFC game this coming up in 2023. Is that correct?
That is my 100% goal.
Okay. All right. Good. I like that. Have you decided, one, what you're going to do, and maybe two, where you're going to be based as well?
Yeah, I have a couple of things lined up, and to be fair, after this week, I think is when I need to really start buckling down and getting everything situated with all that. But I would also love to just take some time to be with my family as well, which I haven't been able to do for years. Preseasons are, for the most part, they were long or short. I'm sorry, short preseasons, but or short off season. Sorry. But yeah, if I can just hang out with my family for a little bit, and I remember talking to my wife earlier this year, like, where would you want to move? And Maryland and North Carolina were kind of the top choices. And one, we're both from Maryland. Obviously, we met in high school. Our families live 20 minutes from each other.
Right.
It would be awesome, again, as a family person, to be around my family, and my kids are growing up, and be around their grandparents more often would be amazing. And my sister and my wife's sisters and brothers. So that might be the go-to. And if not, I think North Carolina is another option. Just, first of all, it's cheaper than all these other places I'm looking at.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Lots of people from Maryland go to North Carolina to retire, by the way. So you wouldn't be the first person to pull that off.
Yeah, but I'm retiring at 35.
When you look back, and obviously there's a bunch of moments. Do you have, and I'm sure you've been asked this ad nauseum, but do you have a favorite moment? Is there something that really sticks out to you and says, man, if I could live that day every day for the rest of my life, I would do it?
Well, I just think the biggest moment of my career was the 2014 MLS Cup. I think for myself, obviously, what we went through that year, and what the team went through that year, and what other guys on the team went through, we were just all in on each other. So we had each other's backs that entire year, and I think when it came down to that game, that was almost like a replica of what our whole year looked like, honestly. And to be able to come out on top and be the first of five, and I remember just dropping to my knees when I heard the final whistle and crying, and a lot of emotions from that. And if I can do that over every single day, that'd be amazing.
Well, I mean, that whole year is an emotional roller coaster for you, obviously, with the birth and passing of your son. That's this incredibly personal moment for you and for your family, for Megan, for everybody, and you brought everybody into it, and you shared it with the world. I mean, we know about the Luka Knows Heart game and just sort of the emotions that happened during that game. Then there's the game right after it, which I think often gets overlooked. Like, I think it was a 6-0 win over the Colorado Rapids. I mean, sometimes things are bigger than sports, right? And sometimes the really important things have a tendency to elevate sports. And Christian Miles was talking about this last Thursday when we were talking about your retirement. It's just it's bigger than sports, but it elevates sports at the same time. Why did you choose to share that with the whole world and all of that? I mean, that's an incredibly personal thing. Why was that important to you to share with everybody?
Yeah, I think you got to speak about things. This was, I think, before mental health was a big issue, and more people talked about it. But for me, it was like, man, I want to share this to one. You never know what other people have gone through and what other people can offer you, and just words of encouragement. Or I just thought that was an opportunity to share, get things off my chest, and be open. And that was 5-6 years into being an LA Galaxy player already at that time, and already having a really good relationship with a bunch of fans. And I think also we met a whole bunch of families and that had gone through what we had gone through. And if I didn't share my story, it kind of would have been a secret to ourselves. And that's not what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I remember that year. One of my, it's not a favorite moment, but it's a profound moment. One, I think shows your dedication, but two, just to show how open you were with everybody. We had you scheduled for to come on the show, and you and I usually would just schedule those things between us. It wasn't a big deal, and we just I'd let the Galaxy know about it. They're like, okay, no problem. And then so it came about showtime, and usually you call right on time, like you were Mr. Spot, and you were late, and so. We had started the show and doing stuff, and I had texted the Galaxy. I'm like, hey, do you know where AJ is? And they're like, yeah. They're like, let me see if I can get a hold of him. So they tried to call. So you called in. I think you were about 10, 12 minutes late. Not a big deal. And so we're talking, and so we were asking how things were going. And you're like, actually, I'm at the hospital right now. And so do you remember that?
Yeah, of course I do. I remember I stepped down to the stairwell, I think, to even talk.
I was, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, this is so, it was one of those, this is so not important. Like, this podcast, so not important. And here you are, taking time out of the hospital to do it. And I've told the story many times on the show, how that happened. And I'm like, we don't need to talk to you right now. We're good. Well, I think we asked you like 2 or 3 questions and let you go. But it always meant something. Personally, it's always nice. I always say that it's my favorite thing is to see LA Galaxy players succeed. And then along the way, there's some guys who you really want to succeed no matter where they go and no matter what they do. You were always that guy. One, because you always had time for us when we were this little tiny itsy bitsy podcast that nobody had heard of. You would come on all the time and talk to us. But 2 is that, a lot of times we can watch guys. I've covered, hundreds of players over the years. There's some guys you like and some guys you don't like. And some guys you're like, well, we would never be friends with that guy. But I don't know that there's every reporter you talk to, and Larry Morgan, I'm sure would want me to tell this story as well, but every reporter that you talk to is like, AJ DeLaGarza is absolutely the best of the best whenever it comes to that. So I wanted to thank you for coming on the show all these times and talking to us, and also giving you a job. If you want to be a podcaster at any time and you want to talk about the LA Galaxy, we'll get you a camera and a microphone, buddy. You can do it from North Carolina, Maryland, Qatar, wherever you are. So, there's your first job offer. It pays nothing, but it's pretty solid.
Can I get health insurance or something? These kids are crazy over here.
Absolutely. No, I wanted to get to Jonathan in our chat room said, thanks for everything, AJ. So he was there. Let's see if I had any questions. No, there's some of these questions I'm absolutely not going to ask because there's some. I thought it was funny. You tweeted out something that I think is not known by a lot of fans, but you tweeted out, hey, now that I'm retired, I can tell you that I'm so hungover today.
That was bad.
So Friday, you had a lot of shots on Friday night. I saw it coming. I think before you even talked to us, you had you went through a tasting menu of different tequilas and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah, then it was like 99 proof. So for someone who doesn't drink very much, that was a rough night and rough morning.
Absolutely, but that is something that footballers have to go through, that soccer players have to go to. Is that one is you really, if you're serious about your fitness, you probably don't drink that much. 2, if you do drink, you're certainly not going to put it out on social media that you went drinking, because if you play the next day and you don't have a good game, then everybody blames it on the 1 glass of wine you had with your Italian dinner the night before, right?
Yeah, right.
Does it feel like you're free now a little bit?
No, to be fair. No, to be fair, it doesn't feel like I'm actually retired, because right now is obviously the off season, and this is my downtime. Like the holiday season is my downtime. The Christmas and all that is usually when I'm not playing. So maybe when preseason starts up in January, and first of all, I'll be thankful that I'm not there running the beep test and all. But I don't think it'll really set in until those games start next season. So right now, it just feels like I'm kind of in my off season.
When was the last time you didn't have a soccer team that you were going to be playing on whenever soccer season started?
Oh man,
like 4?
Yeah, well, I was going to say when I started playing soccer.
Yeah, right. So like like 4, 5, whenever that was probably it.
I started at 4.
Yep. So that's it. So I mean, yeah, this is totally foreign to you. You have no idea what's coming up. Are you thinking about getting into coaching? Is there any thoughts on that? Are you going to be an agent? You going to be a movie star, or does Brian Jordan have that locked down already?
Yeah, BJ can have that one. Yeah, I'm not sure yet. Obviously, I have a couple things lined up, like I said, but I don't know if I can talk about those yet.
Okay.
I'm not trying to jinx them.
Okay, that's good.
One of them was a coaching job, and again, but that comes with some instability. Honestly, like you lose games, you're out.
Right.
You move in team to team. I'm 35 years old. I'm not trying to do my time, as a coach and go through the ranks. Like I just don't have that kind of time to go through all that. So I want something more stable, and I want this next move for my family's sake to be almost like the last move. So I want my daughters to be in the same house for years and years now, and be able to keep their friends. And like my oldest is 7, and she's been in 4 different states. So it's tough. So I'm all about my family and wanting what's best for them. And I think if I can have a normal job and be home a little bit more and be able to go camping with them in the summer times, RVing and all that, that is exactly what I want to do. And I just don't think coaching can provide that.
I was going to say, there's in the chat room, there's a question: would you consider coming back and working for the LA Galaxy's front office? Maybe not in the coaching manner. And then have you also considered maybe moving back to Redondo Beach? Everybody's trying to get you to stay on this side of the country, I have a feeling.
Yeah, man, we've been here now for almost a week, and we absolutely miss it and love it. But we have 3 kids. We're like, how would we even make this work? Like, this is a very expensive place to live, and I've just been looking up houses where I'm staying right now, and it's like, I don't even understand this, man. So, and obviously I had a house when I think we bought in 2015, and when we left, we sold it, but I kept getting Zillow reports like every 6 months, and it made me so mad that I finally had to unsubscribe from it, because it was crazy. I was like, this house is just not worth what people are trying to sell this for. So yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy. I go through the same stuff, so it's not just you. I've had to turn off some Zillow reports too, and I still live here, so that makes a lot of sense. All right, well, hey, we're gonna let you go. As I think I sort of alluded to before, we really appreciate it. You really did. I think you were the second ever LA Galaxy player we ever had on, because Brian Jordan was first.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. Second fiddle to Brian. And then I think we ran through the whole crew, which was, Sean Franklin after that, and Hector Jimenez. So I think Todd Donovan. So we sort of, branched out once we got past you there a little bit too. But I always want to say thank you so much for giving us the time of day, for coming on the podcast, for always having time for us, always being honest, all those things. And, for always being available and in reach whenever we were looking to get it. It was never hard to get a hold of you, and you always came on. So congratulations on the retirement from everybody here at COG. And I hope you, Megan, and the girls really enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. We'll have you on again once you figure out what you're going to do, and then you can come on and you can roast the Galaxy for losing a game, or, jump up and down when they beat LAFC at the Rose Bowl. Sound good?
Yeah, I hope to be there.
All right. Sounds good. AJ, thanks so much, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Of course. Yes, sir.
All right. There goes AJ DeLaGarza, LA Galaxy defender and LA Galaxy legend there. Let me, while AJ is, and I said this would be a short show, it's not going to be long. I'm just going to talk a little bit. Let me talk a little bit about Friday night, and just what a special person he is. I could go on for hours about AJ DeLaGarza and the time that he provides to people like me who podcasted. And I'm not kidding. In 2009, when we started, we were nothing. Jared Dubois and I started this podcast, and it was kind of the only one. There was a Galaxy podcast that had started before us. It ended. Dave Denholm, who now does play-by-play by LAFC, started the first ever LA Galaxy podcast because he was with ESPN at the time. And so they were sort of doing podcasts before podcasts were a thing. So in 2009, we got asked to do a podcast. We started it, you go through all the stuff that you normally do. So we ended up having some guests on, and that gave us a little bit of credibility, but we hadn't had any Galaxy players. We got a hold of Brian Jordan. Brian came on the show, and then we got a hold of AJ. And AJ was like the starter who you could always call and talk to, and who would always come on the show. And so he was such a staple of those early shows from 2009 all the way through, 2016, 2017. When he got traded, literally, I DM'd him minutes after he got traded and was just like, hey, we'd love to have you on, and didn't expect a response. But I think we got one fairly quickly, and we had AJ DeLaGarza on almost immediately after he got traded. One of the hardest shows that I think we've ever done, just because you had a guy who just got, kicked in the balls about this whole thing. It's hard for people who weren't a part of it. And you certainly saw some of that on Twitter. on Friday and Thursday. You saw some of that like they didn't get it, right? There are people who weren't here whenever AJ was here, and you can tell. Because if you were here when AJ was here, you're a fan of his, and you're a fan of his forever. It wouldn't matter if the LA Galaxy signed him for one day or if they signed him for the entire year this next year. Would not matter. Wouldn't matter how much they paid him either. And so he's such an integral part to the LA Galaxy. It's hard to imagine a world in which he wouldn't be an LA Galaxy player. And so in 2017, when he left, I mean, you can say what you want to say, and I'm sure in private he can tell you maybe the real answers about all this stuff, but he was told he wasn't getting traded, and then he got traded. That's not the way things had been run under Bruce Arena, and that was a real sign that Bruce Arena was no longer there with the LA Galaxy. So, that was one of those podcasts. It's like, geez, that's everything can change. And if you aren't personally attached to somebody like AJ, then I think sometimes you miss the player experience. You miss what he's going through right now. Huge lesson. Dude's retiring at 35, right? Now, he was a very good player for very long, and he made some money, right? But do you think that AJ is, he told you he's going to go to work. He's going to do something. He's not retiring and putting his feet up and kicking back. He wasn't a designated player, he played, I think he got 2 starts for the U.S. men's national team and some games with Guam. But there was that elevation of how good he was and an understanding of how good he was, but it was his connection with the LA Galaxy and the community that really made it different. It made it, special for everybody. So it was a joy covering him. And what an amazingly smart and talented soccer player AJ DeLaGarza is. If you want to go back and listen to Thursday, I'm sure Christian and I wax poetically about AJ and everything that he did for the LA Galaxy, LA Galaxy over all these years. So we're thrilled to have him on. But Friday night absolutely was the real. By the way, thanks to the LA Galaxy for inviting me out to go and hang out there. I think the Galaxy paid for everybody's drinks, by the way. I didn't pay for a drink, and I know everybody around me didn't pay for drinks. So I ended up having, I think, 2 beers. AJ, on the other hand, was being passed shot after shot. And going through all that. But he came up, gave a speech that was obviously interrupted several times by chance and shows the support. The dude steps down off the stage and then literally goes person by person and gives them hugs and thanks them. It was funny whenever he walked in, he came up and he saw some fans, and some fans came up, and I could tell he'd already probably had a couple whenever he came up. And so I was standing there just waiting for him, sort of, and he saw me and he gave me a big hug as soon as he recognized me. That's sort of the guy he is. He remembers the people. He knows you. He remembers fans. And just his connection with everything is pretty special. But he did. He thanked every single person there. He took pictures with every single person. He stopped and talked to every single person. If you wanted to have a conversation with AJ, he was there for you. And he's never out of reach or out of touch with anything, right? I mean, he's just, again, I think I said it. He walks into his own retirement party. He's a professional soccer player. You'd expect that he gets mobbed, but he doesn't get mobbed because everybody knows they're going to get their chance with AJ, right? It was never a thing. You want to go back and watch a season that was elevated because of the emotion of players. Look at that 2014 season. Look at what happens in, the Luka Knows Heart game, which I think is the 4-1 game. And look at what happens in the game after that, the 6-0 game over Colorado. As AJ said, that 2014 MLS Cup win in which he absolutely stuffed Charlie Davies. On one of the longest runs. It was a breakaway, and AJ just would not give up, just stayed with Davies all the way. They ran through that right center of the field from basically midfield all the way into the penalty box, and AJ's sliding tackle just absolutely stuffed. It's probably it should be one of the most embarrassing moments of Charlie Davies' career, and it's one of the highlights of AJ DeLaGarza, because Charlie Davies should have had the breakaway speed. Charlie Davies should have been faster than AJ DeLaGarza, and none of those things happened because AJ wanted it more. Tenacious player. Larry Morgan says Greg Berhalter, who was a teammate of AJ DeLaGarza's in those first couple of years, right? Greg Berhalter said AJ keeps getting knocked down and he keeps getting back up. That's Larry Morgan's favorite sort of quote about AJ DeLaGarza. So interesting, so amazing. Such a great guy. His family is great too. Megan is great. The Luka Knows Heart Foundation is amazing. If you haven't and you don't know anything about it, go type in Luka Knows Heart, Luca, Luka Knows Heart. Luka, in his very short time on this planet, inspired and continues to inspire so many people. It's kind of crazy, and it's in this amazing way again that sort of elevates sports to something that's actually relevant, that actually matters. Because most of the time, sports doesn't matter, right? We're in the World Cup right now, where you would think sports, yeah, sure, they're games. It's important. It's fun to watch, but does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? No. But somehow, with AJ and with him sharing, obviously a very personal and tragic moment for his family with everybody, it elevated sports to mean something. It was a community, it was a family, and that emotion carried the LA Galaxy through that 2014 season. So just amazing, fun guy. Really appreciate him coming on. All right, I think that's about it. I don't want us to go too long here. It's Thanksgiving weekend. We want everybody to enjoy their weekend. We will be back on Monday. Still no Kevin Baxter. He's in Qatar. He hasn't been arrested yet, which is a good thing, but we'll check back in on Monday and sort of see where we're at. But Monday there will be a podcast, and we'll go from there. All right. I know, short show, but I'm glad everybody could join us for a little bit of AJ there as I slowly die. Having caught another cold for my son now. I think this is the 4th or 5th one this year, or this winter, this fall. So that's where we go. All right. I think that about does it. If you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at JGuessman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over cornerofthegalaxy.com where you can find our podcast and anything else you need. All right. Big shout out to AJ DeLaGarza for coming on the show. Thanks to LA Galaxy for throwing that little party on Friday night. Well received. Well done. Good job, AJ DeLaGarza. All right. For myself, Josh Guessman, for the man himself, AJ DeLaGarza, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.